Order, Madam Speaker.
Honorable members, may we take this opportunity for a silent prayer or meditation. Amen.
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 Honorable members, thank you for making yourselves available for today's special sitting. The Office of the Speaker was advised to have a special sitting for the purpose of complying with the Constitution of the Republic of South Africa and other relevant financial prescripts, as well as our own standing rules as the KwaZulu-Natal Legislature. I will now afford that opportunity to all of us to comply with those standing rules by affording the MEC to table the KwaZulu-Natal Adjustment Appropriation Bill 2021. And that is why this sitting is convened. I trust that members will find this to be in order. Honorable members, I wish to inform all of you of the third passing on of the following persons: Mr. Ibrahim, an anti-apartheid activist, struggle veteran, and former Deputy Minister of International Relations and Cooperation, who joined Umkhonto weSizwe in the early 60s and was convicted of sabotage several years later and sent to Robben Island to serve a 15-year sentence. He was the Deputy Minister of International Relations and Cooperation between 2009 and 2014. Ms. Lindiwe Mabuza, a South African High Commissioner to the United Kingdom, who was also a politician, anti-apartheid activist, diplomat, a poet, academic and journalist, as well as a cultural activist. She served her country also as a member of the first democratically elected parliament of the Republic of South Africa. All victims of gender-based violence and hate crimes, all victims of road fatalities in our province during the recent past and the country at large, all South Africans who have recently passed away as a result of COVID-19 related complications and any other causes. Honorable members, I want us to remember that whilst these persons may no longer walk among us, but their memories will forever live on in our hearts and minds. Let us then observe a moment of silence in honor of all these departed souls. May their souls rest in peace. We will move to announcements. We'll start with the ruling on virtual sittings and voting. Honorable members, you are therefore reminded that this virtual sitting will be conducted in terms of our amended standing rules. Rule 49(1) of the standing rules provides that at least 1/3 of all the members of the legislature must be present to constitute a plenary meeting of the legislature. Rule 49(2) further states that a majority of the members of the legislature must be present before a vote may be taken on a bill or an amendment to a bill. At least 1/3 of the members must be present before a vote may be taken on any other question before the legislature. And all questions are decided by a majority of the votes cast. The standing rules also define present as present in relation to virtual sittings or meetings as the attendance of a member in a sitting or meeting held through electronic means in a manner that allows the member to join and participate in the meeting. Honorable members, we have received and processed the following apologies to today's sitting. Honorable Mr. R. Pillay, MEC for Economic Development, Tourism and Environmental Affairs, has requested to leave the sitting early as he will be attending the National Council of Provinces plenary. Honorable Mr. A.V. Khoza of the EFF has indicated that he has an organizational engagement. Honorable members, the Deputy Speaker of the KwaZulu-Natal Legislature, the Honorable R. Tembu, is unwell, and we wish him a speedy recovery. May we also have him in our prayers. We will move to birthdays. The Honorable Ms. Ireb is celebrating her birthday today, the 7th of December. We wish her a very happy birthday and hope that she will have a memorable day. Happy birthday, Honorable Rab. We will now move to the next order, which will be announcements or reports by the Premier. Honorable Premier, we are now affording you an opportunity to make announcements or reports.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. May I take this opportunity to extend my greetings to you, Honorable Speaker. May I also greet all members of this House, honorable members of the House. Firstly, Honorable Speaker, the province of KwaZulu-Natal has almost concluded the composition of the councils following the local government elections. The process has been overwhelmingly peaceful, indicating the depth and maturity of our democracy. With that,
Order, Speaker. Order.
Honorable Twala.
No, thank you, Honorable Speaker. No, nothing much, Speaker. Before we allow the Premier to continue, check Speaker dress code. Before this August House. noma ngibona ngazi ukuthi ugqokele ngama-truck pants akhe. Iyona ndlela yokugqoka le kaPrime.
No. Maybe you haven't looked properly. That is not a tracksuit. That is what we call cultural. It's these Afro shirts, or they are usually worn in the house by the Honorable Premier, by Honorable Mwango, by a lot of members, Honorable Dube.
Akasukuma simbone kahle.
We are not going to do that, but that is not what you say it is. Honorable Premier, Honorable Premier, there is one speaker that was going to request you to stand up, but that is not what he is doing. And honorable members, when you eventually come back to the House, you don't have to grandstand on something that is not true. Continue, Honorable Premier.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. We therefore wish to congratulate all councillors and mayors who have been elected to serve our community. We look to them to selflessly serve and improve the service delivery to all communities. Honorable Speaker, on Sunday, the 5th of December, we reported to the people of KwaZulu-Natal that our province has officially entered the 4th wave of COVID-19 infection. Over the past 3 weekends, the province observed a significant climb in the rate of infection. All indications point to the Omicron variant to be the driver behind the new wave of infection. 3 weeks ago, KwaZulu-Natal had a positivity rate of 0.7%, and by Sunday last week, the positivity rate had jumped to 12.7%. The province has started receiving more than 100 cases a day from the 26th of November, while the average number of cases received daily rose from 47 to 362 cases per day. The rate of hospitalization has also increased, including patients who require ICU and ventilation. We call on all people of KwaZulu-Natal to vaccinate. We also urge members of this House to speak with one voice on the importance of vaccination and strict adherence to COVID-19 safety protocols. Honorable Speaker, we've noted the blockade by truck drivers that happened on Friday, the 3rd of December on the N3. It was reported that the drivers were protesting the hiring of foreign nationals in the truck and logistic industry by South African companies. While the right to peaceful protest is protected in the Constitution, we condemn such act as it caused irreparable damage to the economy of our country and the province. We commend the police for working hard to clear N3 and for further arresting not less than 12 truck drivers who are allegedly behind this blockade. As the KwaZulu-Natal provincial government, we will continue to implore on the National Department of Labor to enforce regulations on foreign labor employment in a way that enhances the protection of low-skills jobs opportunities for South Africans. In essence, the matter is not that foreign drivers should not drive in South African roads, but instead, South African freight and logistic company should prioritize the employment of South African drivers. Honorable Speaker, from yesterday, the 5th, to the 11th of December, KwaZulu-Natal will be hosting the International Conference on AIDS in Africa, the ICAS. This is a platform that deals with the status and challenges of HIV and AIDS, as well as other sexual transmittable diseases. The conference will be attended by more than 4,000 delegates who will be virtual, and only speakers and coordinators will be in physical attendance. Further, all physical attendees will be tested and also screened daily for COVID-19. We're determined that this conference will reignite the much needed attention to HIV and AIDS and STIs. The advent of COVID-19 and its impact has resulted in the neglect of other diseases, and this poses a threat to the livelihood of the people. We are also impressed that this conference take place in KwaZulu-Natal just after a highly successful intra-Africa trade fair that was hosted by the province last month. Honorable Speaker and honorable members, yesterday we learned with sadness about the passing away of the struggle stalwart and anti-apartheid activist, Comrade Ibrahim Ismail Ibrahim. We wish to express our deepest sympathy to his family for their loss. Comrade EP, as he was known, committed himself and his life to the liberation struggle at a young age, participating in major campaigns of the ANC-led Congress Alliance in the 1950s. He joined the People's Liberation Army, Umkhonto weSizwe, in 1960. And after his arrest in 1963, he was one of the accused in Peter Marisburg sabotage trial, leading to his 15 years imprisonment on Robben Island. After he was released, he was also kidnapped in Swaziland in 1986, which found him to be sentenced to 20 years on Robben Island, a sentence that was overturned in 1991. He was a member of the ANC NEC for 26 years. He served as a political advisor and a parliamentary advisor to former President Jacob Zuma. He also served our country as the Deputy Minister of International Relations and Cooperation. To say Hamba kahle Mkhonto, may your name endure to inspire generations to come. We also wish to express our sympathies to the family of the Excellency Ambassador Lindiwe Masuku, whom it was reported that she passed on yesterday. We salute Her Excellency for her devotion and dedication in the struggle for liberation in South Africa. She has also made a sterling contribution as a seasoned and a professional diplomat, par excellence, in advancing not only South Africa's cause, but the cause of development of the African continent as a whole. Honorable Speaker, as I conclude, may I join you in paying tribute to all victims of gender-based violence, which have become another pandemic in our province. We need to fight this and ensure that we eliminate it from the social fiber of the province. We also wish to pay our sympathies to all victims of COVID-19, and we call on all of us to vaccinate, but also to embrace and adhere to all non-pharmaceutical protocols that are in place. Honorable Speaker and members, I thank you.
We will now go to the next item on the order paper, which will be item 5, tabling of reports or papers. Are there any tablings that we might not have recorded today? Seeing that there's none, we'll move to the next order, which is formal motions and notices by the Chief Whip. Honorable Chief Whip.
Honorable Speaker, thank you very much. There are no formal motions and notices from our side. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Honorable Chief Whip. Honorable members, we are now going to move to item 7, which is the orders of the day, the main order of the day, the tabling of the KwaZulu-Natal Adjustment Appropriation Bill 2021 by the MEC for Finance. Before I call upon the MEC for Finance, I've just received a clarification from an honorable member that there is a member that is having connectivity problems and has connected to the gadget of the chairperson of Premier Portfolio Committee. The Honorable Zandile Gumede is connected through the same gadget as Honorable CQ Madlopa. Now, I want to make that for issues of attendance to record that because it's a fully virtual sitting, honorable members. Now, may I kindly call upon the Honorable MEC of Finance in the province of KwaZulu-Natal, Honorable Ndube Ncube, to table the KwaZulu-Natal Adjustment Appropriation Bill 2021. Nzwakele.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Thank you to the Honorable House, Honorable Premier, Honorable members, and all distinguished ladies and gentlemen, comrades and friends. I rise to table before this House this a bill that we are tabling here today, the adjustment bill. The sitting today marks yet another time when we need to reflect on our needs as we battle the needs versus the budget. We still hold true to the ideals of the Freedom Charter that declares that people shall govern. Since our democratic breakthrough, the ANC-led government has been implementing the mandate of the people of South Africa, and in the process ensuring that all the voices of our people, especially the marginalized in the rural areas, in the townships, in the peri-urban, the young and old, and the downtrodden are heard. We meet just after the successfully held local government elections, Honorable Speaker, as the Premier has just said. And I wish to take this opportunity as well to congratulate all our councillors that have been elected. We hope and pray that they will hold to their oath of office, which is to abide by and be faithful to the laws and the rules of the Republic of South Africa and work for their communities without expecting anything in return. And we also wish to commit to support this sphere in line with our constitutional mandate, as the Premier has mandated us to do. 43 of our distressed municipalities, as stated by the Finance Minister Enoch Godongwane in his midterm budget policy statement, are in KwaZulu-Natal. It is for this reason, Honorable Speaker, that I wish to reiterate the Minister's commitment to ensure that we focus on the above-mentioned municipalities, thus ensuring that they are having the turnaround strategies that are developed. We will also increase our focus on the capacity building programs in ensuring that there are solid inductions of our new councillors. I know that the integrated councillor induction programs are going on at the moment as we talk, conducted by Salga and Coulter. They are being implemented here in KwaZulu-Natal, having started on 6th of December. Sorry. Today's gathering, Honorable Speaker, is building and nurturing the prosperity, and as we make the adjustment to the provincial budget, while many countries have been barred from traveling to this country and other Southern African states as a result of the outbreak of the Omicron variant, we remain resilient as a country that we face with this adverse situation. This new strain mutated from the existing virus as it is already putting a strain on our healthcare system. Be that as it may, we do not intend kicking the can down the road. More than ever, we need to unite and fight this new strain, which unfortunately will compel all of us to dig down in our pockets. And I'm certain that We can achieve this through collaborative effort with all the social partners and all the ordinary South Africans. Honorable Speaker, the global economic recovery remains strong, although the COVID-19 pandemic is resurging in some parts of the world, mainly in Europe. The renewed outbreak of the virus are forcing some of the countries to restrict activities, resulting in bottlenecks and pressures on the supply chains. As a result, the global economy is projected to grow by 5.9% this year and by 4.9% in 2022. Unfortunately, as the economy reopened, recent demand has pushed down the price in key commodities such as the crude oil and metals. Also, food prices are rising as a result of the high inflation, especially in the emerging markets, including ours of South Africa. Following the global trend, the South African economy is expecting to rebound by 5.1% this year and by 1.8% in 2022. It must be noted that the rebound is from a very low base, though. Disturbingly, the national potential economic performance is hindered by the electricity shortages that we've been experiencing. This challenge is further compounded by the new Omicron variant detected in the Southern Africa, but also in other countries in the world. Despite the pandemic, the national economy is also being battered by the rising inflation rate, currently estimated at 5%. And this high inflation is primarily attributed to higher global producer price, food prices, a weaker rand exchange rate, increasing oil prices, amongst others. The rising inflation prompted the South African Reserve Bank to increase the repo rate by 0.25 basis points to 3.75% last month. Meanwhile, the fiscal policy will continue to be constrained to limit debt growth, which continues to squeeze out other government spending priorities. This is partially for this reason that the fiscal consolidation remains in place, unfortunately. Nevertheless, as government, we will continue to implement the infrastructure investments and other plans which are essential for the inclusive growth of our country. Despite the estimated over-collection of 120.3 billion windfall tax revenue that we have seen in this financial year, our consolidated deficit is still high according to global standard. Madam Speaker, I must therefore remind the House that there are three prominent global rating agencies, namely Moody's, Investors Service, Fitch Ratings, as well as the Standard & Poor, closely monitoring our country's fiscal position. The rating agencies, investors, as well as the private sector want to see more explicit concrete actions on the fiscal reforms in our country. One of the most tangible fiscal reforms requires a sound, sustainable balance between the government spending as well as the revenue correction and the borrowing requirements. Therefore, as a prudent government, we need to keep spending at an affordable level, but also contributing lower inflation and a sustainable balance of payment. We, however, ought to implement these reforms without compromising on the productivity as well as the service delivery to our community. On the implementation of the KwaZulu-Natal Economic Recovery and Construction and Transformation Plan, it is in our response to look at the economic outlook, especially for the 2021 and for the next year, which compounded by the unfortunate unrest that we experienced in July this year. KwaZulu-Natal developed a provincial economic reconstruction and transformation plan, And our plan focused on 14 priority sector interventions that formed the backbone of the social compact. The provincial government and the social partners is committed to implementing these interventions. The targeted sector include, but are not limited to, agriculture, agro-processing, tourism, clothing and textile, creative industry, finance and services, and the fourth industrial revolution, as well as the ICT and innovation. The effective and efficient implementation of this plan in collaboration with our provincial operation VULA and Radical Economic Transformation RASET will also essentially help to speed the economic recovery. The agent implementation plan will also contribute immensely to reducing the high unemployment rates and the poverty that we've been experiencing over time. As a result of these increased pressures of the economic growth, the Provincial Council identified a number of areas in which the local economy can be stimulated. It is for this reason that in this adjustment budget, the provincial government prioritized 200 million towards the Operation Vula Fund, as the province realized that the Operation Vula Fund remained an appropriate tool, and it was insufficient since the last time a number of people applied and a number of SMME and cooperative really showed that there is huge growth in the sector, and with government support, there is a massive injection in the employment that we can see in our province. So it is in this regard that the successful initiatives that have been provided with the funding across the 3 tiers, which is tier 1, which people apply for up to 200,000, tier 2 up to 500,000, and tier 3 that goes up to 2 million per initiative. Therefore, Madam Speaker and honourable members, the government led by Honourable Kuzeni has been working hard in also continuing to encourage people to ensure that these projects and SMME are even supported post receiving the Operation Vula Fund, so that their projects and programs are sustainable. There are overall improvement in the PFMA audit outcomes that we have experienced, where we have 5 auditees that have improved their audit outcomes opinion, honourable members, while 1 department regressed. The audit results for 2021-22 reflect that 5 departments and 13 public entities achieved clean audits. 7 departments and 5 entities received unqualified audit reports, while 3 departments received qualified audit reports. Provincial Treasury, in collaboration with the Office of the Premier, as coordinating, as well as the body and the Premier himself is handling this project. We'll continue to implement the end-to-end province-wide multi-level collaboration of audit improvement plans with the objective of improving the audit outcomes of our province. The lack of consequence management continued to contribute to the high levels of non-compliance and the irregular expenditure. We've seen that departments who have not adequately addressed particularly the issues of irregular expenditure, as evident from the cumulative amount of irregular expenditure and the non-compliance with the laws, are the ones that have shown the issues, particularly when it comes to the consequence management as raised by the Auditor General. Looking at the adjustment estimate for the 2021-22, Section 31 of the PFMA, honourable members, requires province to table this adjustment within 30 days after the national minister has tabled his adjustment at the national government level. The provincial 2021-22 adjustment budget is therefore being tabled here today in the legislature. The adjustment estimate deals with finalizing both the equitable share as well as the conditional grants request, as well as the allocation of the additional funding, the details of which I will provide here just now. Where the legislature approval specifically is required for the adjustment to a vote budget, this has been highlighted in gray and the shading in the adjustments estimate book. Honorable members are encouraged to study these. A summary of these is also being provided as an explanatory memorandum. Despite challenges of the fiscal space, I'm pleased to say that the province remains a cash positive province as has been placed and since 2010. And this has given us flexibility to add some funds to the departments who have been showing spending pressures in the year, with these pressures being mainly due to the severe budget cuts made against the provincial budgets in 2021-22 budget year. And the table 1 that we are tabling is attached in annexure of this address, provides the adjustment being made today. The table takes into account the funding available to the province and how these allocations are being done as an additional allocation from the national adjustment budget, and this is discussed later on. The table 1 explains as well that all provincial owns revenue budget was under-collected by 276.7 million. This, together with the remaining budgeted surplus of 100 million in 2020-21 and a few technical adjustments, saw the province ending the 2020-21 financial year with an audited surplus of 2.2 billion, as shown in line 10 of the table. The positive net financial position was then used to finance the conditional grants rollovers, while a decision was taken not to fund any equitable share rollovers so as to free up funds to add to various department budgets where they were showing significant in-year spending pressures. I will now explain the cash position. The unspent conditional grants funding has to be returned to the fiscus unless approved for rollovers according to Section 22 of the Division of Revenue Act. Line 11 indicates 356.9 million that was approved for rollovers by the National Treasury. This is not new money for the province, as the funds have already been in the provincial revenue. The rollover approved means that the funds can be used to settle commitments in the prior year. The approved rollovers are as follows. The Comprehensive Agriculture Support Program, that is CASP, grant is 2 million. Ilima Letsima Project, 3.7. School Nutrition Program, that NSNP, grant of 153.7 million. HIV, TB, malaria community and HPV vaccine grant of 97.1, ECD grant 85.2, community library services 15.2. That has been the approved rollovers. In line 12, we indicate that a total of 55.4 million has to be returned to the National Revenue Fund in terms of the various unspent and uncommitted conditional grants. These grants are as follows. The CASP is 7 million, Ilima Letsima 3.9, disaster relief grant under the Department of Agriculture is 250,000, NHI grant 2.9 million, disaster relief grant under the Department of Health 22.6, EPWP incentive grant under the Community Safety 12,000, EPWP incentive under the DSD 3,000, public transport operation grant 12.6 million and ECD grant 6.1. Where every effort is usually made to approve equitable share rollover, where departments have proven that these funds have been committed, we were unable to do so this time around. This was very difficult to make, but we are alerted if we are alerted early on in the year, that department, but mainly the Department of Education and Health, we're finding it very difficult to remain within their reduced 21-22 budget. Members will recall that the provincial equitable shares saw unprecedented budget cuts made against it as part of the national constitute fiscal consolidation drive, being cut by 12 billion. The bulk of this cut related to the assumption that there would be a wage freeze, but the 2021 wage agreement that was reached in year, this did in fact provide some increases for levels 1 to 12 of the staff members of the public service, and the National Treasury added some funds back to the fiscus, as we will explain this later. Nevertheless, the budget cuts against the education and health remains at significant high risk to the provincial fiscus. As a result of this decision not to approve the equitable share rollovers, we will then show that the provincial legislature retain its unspent operational grants for 2020-21 in terms of FAMPLA, which indicates that the provincial legislature is permitted to retain all unspent operational funding of 104 million in the aggregate of 2020, but 9.3 million of this relates to statutory allocation of this must be surrendered to the provincial revenue. As such, the balance of 95.2 million may be retained by the legislature, and this is formalized in this adjustment process. By the same token, the provincial legislature may also retain any revenue over collected in the prior year, and this is in line with Section 22 of the PFMA as well as the FAMPLA. As such, 4.7 is allocated back to the legislature as shown in line 66. Having assessed the spending pressure shown mainly by the Education and Health Department in their in-year monitoring, it was also decided to use 267.7 million of the 21-22 contingency the reserve to assist the funding on some of these spending pressures. And this is shown in line 17. The contingency reserve for 21-22 was set at 366.6 million when the main budget was tabled. In allocating 267.7 million of this unforeseen in-year budget pressures, the contingency reserve remain in around 100 million. This amount will remain unallocated at this stage and will be available should any unforeseen budget pressures arise. After taking this into account, the amount available for the allocation towards spending pressures amount to 1.961 billion of this, which is shown in line 18. This is how then this allocation is going to be happening, as we have indicated. Vote 5, which is education, receive an amount of 795.7 million towards their budget pressures. The department calculated that the budget cuts made against their budget would result in 6,114 posts being unaffordable in 2021, with the additional of 795.7 million, the additions made by the National Treasury for the 2021 wage agreement, as well as some internal reprioritization. A large part of these budget pressures are negated by this addition to the Department of Education. The department is also a recipient of these funds from the Presidential Youth Employment Initiative Fund, as well as the further funds that become available in the province in the in-year. And these are all to lower the budget pressures of the Education Department. Vote 7, which is health, also received 795.7 million that is allocated towards the budget pressures. This will go towards the budget pressures that arise as a result of the budget cuts made to the department's budget, but also provide for costs associated with the third wave of COVID-19. Those costs were largely covered by the additional allocated made by the National Treasury that received 1.6 billion, but also allocation made by the Provincial Fiscal supplements this allocation. Vote 13, social development, received 40 million to provide temporary assistance in the crisis situation, for funds, for the vouchers for families, for continued that are affected by the COVID-19 pandemic, as well as the provision of the social relief of distress following the July unrest. The department has also partnered with other entities who are contributing to these needs in the province. Vote 14, Public Works, received 300 million to cover the shortfall in the budget for municipal property rates, which was calculated at 386 million. Further funds are added to cover the shortfall, and we will provide the details of this in the address. Various votes have requested funds for repairs to the provincial infrastructure as a result of the July unrest. A tabular of this is provided. In this regard, 30 million was allocated towards the pressures of Education Department. 14 million of this goes to Education Department. COCTA receives 9 million. Social Development, 7 million, as well as the social development also received in this amount as a result of the July unrest. Under the suspension of funds, there are 2 suspension of funds that are included in this adjustment estimates. There is a voluntary surrender of funds in this year for reallocation in the future years. Department of Transport, that vote 12, has requested that 300 million, which were funds suspended for their vote in the third adjustment estimate, be allocated back to them in 2021-22. However, the department subsequently indicated that they have a few SCM challenges which have caused delays of the project, and therefore they would not be able to utilize this amount, and they wish that this amount be utilized in the fiscal and be reallocated back to them. Vote 5, Education, receive 150 million, partly to fund the balance of the repairs of school that were damaged during the unrest, of which 14 million was allocated as detailed previously in this address, while the cost of repairs was calculated at 104 million. The balance of the funds is to be used for spending pressures in the infrastructure budget, largely related to the upgrades and the additions to the schools. Vote 7, Health, receive an additional of 100 million for spending pressures as a result of the budget cut, but also towards COVID-19 spending pressures. Vote 14, Public Works, receive an additional 50 million for property rates shortfall. As we indicated, the 386 million, as mentioned, an additional amount which is needed as the property rate shortfall, which is 350 million, which was calculated at 386, as we indicated. For 12, Transport, budget decreased by 25 million, and that this amount be suspended to vote for economic development for the upgrade of Mkuze Terminal Building in Mkanyagude. The department received a request from ETIA to collaborate in the supporting of the regional airport strategy. On the equitable share grants, the increase of 4.5 billion with regard to the provincial equitable share and 175.4 million with regard to the conditional grant allocation is received by the province. The National Treasury issued 2 government gazettes in this year allocating to the national adjustment budget. And here are the explanation. Government Gazette number 44593 that was issued sees the allocation to the province as follows. The allocation affects the provincial emergency housing grant under Vote 8. Human settlement is allocated to Limpopo 2.311 million, Mpumalanga 4.98, and KwaZulu-Natal received 102,590 million. The allocation of these is the provision of temporary residential unit for 1,592 of affected households by the tropical cyclone Eloise. Government Gazette 44996 was issued, which sees the reallocation of 143,223 million for the NHI indirect grant. And KZN of this received 8.422 million as well as 5.895 million. Again, under the Presidential Youth Employment Initiative in 2021 budget speech, the minister announced that there is allocation of 11 billion that was set aside for the Presidential Youth Employment Initiative of 21-22. The intervention is part of the continued response by our government to address the impact of COVID-19 pandemic on the rising unemployment in our country. In this regard, 1.4 billion is added into our equitable share and 38.2 million to the provincial conditional grant of the Presidential Youth Employment Initiative Fund, which is allocated as follows for our province. Education received 1.3 billion, which is allocated to the equitable share to fund the education assistance, general assistance, public ordinary, as well as the public special schools. Vote 7 Health received 71.6 million of these Youth Employment Initiative Fund to fund the assistant nurses who will be responsible for COVID-19 vaccination, COVID-19 wards, high care. Vote 13 Social Development received 23.2 million of this amount to appoint social workers in order to address backlog of unemployment of social workers graduates. Vote 13 Social Development also received the ECD grant, which is share of being 38.2 million in KZN. This will go to the funding of the subsidy component and to address the shortfall in phase 1 of the Presidential Youth Employment Initiative that sought to provide unemployment with employment and the risk to the 70,000 across the country. The ECD-related workers impacted by the COVID-19 lockdown to supplement their income. Addition to the equitable share for 2021 wage agreement, the provincial government sees an addition, a funding of 3 billion under the wage agreement in the 2021-22 MTEF budget that was prepared. The funding relates to the wage agreements increments and was deducted from the provincial equitable share by the National Treasury. When the 2021 wage agreement was concluded, there would be a non-pensionable cash allowance. All staff levels level 1 up to 12, as well as a 1.5% increase, National Treasury agreed to fund the non-pensionable cash allowance in full. National Treasury, however, indicated that the 1.5% increase should have been budgeted for by the department as usual. The amounts allocated to the province is largely in line with the amount that was calculated and is being costed in the implementation of the wage agreement. And therefore, the budget will look as follows. Vote 5, education in the wage agreement receives 1.8 billion. Vote 7, health, receive 1.1 billion. Vote 1, Office of the Premier, receive 8 million. Vote 2, Provincial Legislature, receive 3 million. Vote 3, Agriculture, receive 20 million. Vote 8, Health and Human Settlement, receive 8 million. Vote 13, Social Development, receive 61 million. Vote 14, Public Works, receive 16 million. Additions to the conditional grants allocation. Vote 7, Health, received an addition of 22.6 million to Human Resource and Training Grant to provide for the statutory obligation to place medical interns upon completion of these interns of their studies. Vote 7, Health, received an additional 6 million to the HIV, TB, malaria, and community outreach grant. And this is allocation of funds that allows province to procure directly for the provision of the mental health and the oncology services. The budget adjustment, Honorable Speaker and Honorable Members, also contains the environments. Section 43 of the PFMA determines that the legislature needs to approve as required the environments which result in the decrease in the funds specifically and exclusively allocated in particular, and the decrease as a result. I know that the Finance Committee will also be receiving this, and as indicated earlier, any such proposed decreases are highlighted in gray shading in 2021 adjustment estimate, which I am tabling today. And these are also highlighted in the explanatory memorandum as has been prepared. Honorable Speaker and honorable members, I wish to conclude that we stating that we are here today wishing to invite all the people of KwaZulu-Natal to join us in taking a step for a long journey of building KwaZulu-Natal socially and economically. This is a journey to create a better future for our country and all our community, as well as the future generation, through judicious management of our public purse. Madam Speaker, honorable members, allow us to humbly opinion that there is time in life of our nation where there is a choice to be part of the past or to choose the future. And we stand on the crossroad as a province to decide what type of the economy that we want to create for the future. The fact of the matter is that the world and the economy on the super way of the innovation and the invention never cease in the history of the mankind. And for us is to ensure that we move our community towards innovation, towards ensuring that the entrepreneurial spirit that our communities possess, that our communities have, is enhanced. If we do not innovate as a province, we will be left behind. We do not manufacture our own vaccines and invent our own healthcare sciences. We will face the bleak future. I'm confident that we are still alive to the possibilities, as we have seen in the country, that our country has got the best medical scientists, as we have seen, as shown recently, that even the whole world look upon South Africa to provide solution on even the Omicron virus where this country was able to show what type of virus the Omicron was and how it mutated south. And to what extent have we managed to use this energy and these innovations that we have to forge ahead as the government and to show this innovation to the world, but also to use this innovation for the betterment of our community as well as that of our country. Honorable members, I do wish to thank our Premier, Honorable Zigalala, for continuing to sharpen the skills and the innovation within the members of the council to ensure that we push the envelope in forging ahead, in working with our communities and rolling our sleeves in taking some of the toughest decisions as a collective in crafting this budget that we are tabling here today. Let us also thank the Department of Treasury for working hard, Honorable Speaker, together with our committee chairs, Honorable Nkosi, as well as the chair, Honorable Governor, as well as both the Committee of SCOPA and the Committee of Finance, for really making sure that they go beyond the call of duty in the work that they are doing. I also, honorable members, wish to thank the members of STARCOV, and we look forward to engaging with you on this adjustment budget and give our commitment to assist you in the role of the oversight. I also wish to thank my family and my organization, the African National Congress, for all the support that you give me all the time. I am grateful to the team, Provincial Treasury, led by the acting HOD, Mrs. Nelly Shezi, and her dedicated team of professionals for the sterling work that they continue to work at Treasury. But also I wish to thank the members of the Budget Council, led by the National Minister of Finance, as well as the female National Finance MECs, for always the guidance and the support we get from one another and sharing those expertise and the good practices around the country. I wish to extend my gratitude to all the ministers at national government level for all their guidance and support. It is my honor, honorable members and honorable speaker, to also thank you very much for your guidance and support all the time in ensuring that as the department, but also in our office, that we do our work in line with the prescript, in line also with the legislature prescript. It is my singular honor to formally table the Adjustment Appropriate Bill 2021 for the province of KwaZulu-Natal for consideration of this House, to be read with the adjustment estimate of the provincial revenue and expenditure. I trust that this debate and the vote of this bill will be constructive and fruitful, honorable members. I thank you, honorable speaker. I do wish to table as annexures. Thank you, honorable speaker.
Thank you, honorable Dube, MEC Finance. Thank you also to all of you, honorable members, for your attention as the MEC was presenting. Now, the KwaZulu-Natal Adjustments Appropriation Bill and all supporting documents as tabled by the MEC is referred to the Finance Committee as well as the Standing Committee on Oversight over the Legislature for consideration and reporting back to the House on the 10th of December 2021. We now, having finalized that part, will go back to the orders of the day. And noting that that was the last order that we have as the main order of the day, we have to thank you, honorable members, for coming to this important sitting. and trust that the chairpersons of the affected committees and their members will also be up to the task so that when we meet on Friday, again on this platform, we will all be ready with the work that we took oath of office to do. Earlier on this morning, we also had to swear in a new member of the Legislature of KwaZulu-Natal, the Honorable Ms. Mabatho Tembe, if we can see her face, who is a new member from the component of the Democratic Alliance. Honorable Tembe.
Speaker, it's Honourable Rogers.
Okay.
Speaker, Honourable Tembe is currently still with administration sorting out all her administration, so she's not online. Apologies.
Oh, okay. We also apologize, members. We had an agreement that she will be part of the sitting, but we had to introduce that there is a new member, and that makes us have our full complement of members, the 80 members in the legislature. With that said, the House is adjourned until Friday, the 10th of December 2021.
Thank you, Mpondokazi.
Siyabonga somlomo.
Siyabonga somlomo.
Oh, Bishop.
Uphuma phuthwala njobe sesosibuza izinto esingazazi.
Somlomo siyabonga.
Progressive.
Uthwala uphuma phi?
Ukhona uthwala la.
Awufike nje waphuza izinto esingazazi.
Uyaphuza umfundisi. Uphuzani? Uyaphuza utshwala umfundisi na? Yini utshwala? Hayi kodwa nisewawa wena mfundisi wena vele. Ngiwisa wena.
Sawumahluleli uyahlulela.
Uyaphila Nzwakele. Uyaphila. Hayi siyabonga Nzwakele. Wasithokoza. Lihle.